Pizza guys of Reddit, what's the strangest thing you've seen when delivering pizzas? I delivered a pizza to a young girl who was home alone, and when she opened the door her dog immediately ran away. I handed her the pizza, got in my car, found the dog and returned it. She left me no tip, so I was feeling kind of salty about it on the way back to the restaurant. A few hours later her mother called the store asking to speak to me. She thanked me and explained they had left tip money, but their daughter was so upset about the dog she forgot to give it to me. I worked at this pizza place for 2 more years through college, and they would get 2 large pepperoni pizzas and request me to deliver it every week after that. They always tipped me at least $25. A bastion of wholesomeness among overweight nudists this comment is. I was delivering a pizza to a high-rise once on a Saturday night. Got in the elevator and there was a guy dressed like a pimp who tried to buy my pizza from me that I was about to deliver. He didn't even ask what kind or what size, he just pulled out a $100 bill and said, "I buy that for $100," and I politely turned him down. So he pulled out another $100 and offered me $200. I told him I could get fired. Man, that was hard to turn down. Here's where things get totally ducked up. When I get to the door of the guy I am delivering it to, he opens the door and is dressed like a pimp also. Like, huge colorful jacket, and he grabs the pizza and gives me a $100 bill and shuts the door. Pizza was about $35. So a $65 tip. TLDR, got the biggest tip of my life from a guy dressed like a pimp just seconds after turning down the biggest bribe of my life from another guy dressed like a pimp. Pimp friends were definitely testing the loyalty of their local pizza store. Some dude opened the apartment door completely naked. I was stunned, but what came after that made me ask myself, is he some kind of ducking magician? He put a hand behind his back and pulled a wallet. Only reasonable explanation I could give myself was that he tucked the wallet between his butt cheeks. Quite the power move TBH. Had someone answer the door once with a snake on his shoulders. Not like a milk snake or a garter, but a ball python. Probably about 6 feet long. As he closed the door I heard him say to someone that I hadn't reacted at all, lol. Sounded so disappointed. Edit to clarify, this was almost a year ago. I am not a snake expert, so it is quite possible I misidentified the species. Thanks to those who pointed out my mistake. Was it a rental snake? Just the other day showed up to a house to be greeted by 2 guys, about 25, on the roof in underwear, clearly ecstatic about the pizza being delivered. Did you Walter White the pizza up there? Some guy ordered a large pep pizza. When I got to the house he wasn't there, so I called him out. He told me he was in the bathroom taking a shit and I had to wait 18ish minutes to get my pay. Shoulder taxed him a slice or 2 for the wait. I deliver for DoorDash and Grubhub. Sometimes pizzas. One time I picked up an order from each app. Same exact order. From the same restaurant. Both named James. To the same hotel. When I knocked on the door 2 guys were there and asked me which was I. DoorDash or Grubhub. I told them I was both and have both orders. They started to laugh really hard. When I asked what was so funny, they told me they had a bet on which one would come first. They thought it was going to be 2 different drivers and never thought one person would be using both apps. I laughed too and asked them which one was James. They told me they are both named James. I still wonder what other funny things those 2 guys try come up with. I play both sides, so I always come out on top. Just simply coming up and there were 3 guys in underwear waiting for me. Handing the pizzas over and more just start coming out in underwear, and these were also wearing cowboy hats and native headdresses. Some kind of bro Halloween party or something. Got to grab my tip out of the dude's bra. It was funny as hell, but when I left the building I had to process for a moment what the hell happened. Probably just the casting call for the new Village People reboot. A previous co-worker of mine delivered pizza when he was in college, and he told me that he once pulled up to a house and a group of high schoolers ran across the street with a finish line when he got there. They ordered from Pizza Hut and Domino's at the same time. I don't remember which one he worked for, but he won the race. I wanna try this now. There was this house where a young couple had ordered pizza. I reached quite early and probably disturbed their sixth session. The drunk dude had no idea that he had put on his girl's skirt. Not strange, but very difficult not to laugh at. That was just his kilt. I delivered a pizza to this house, and when I was standing on the front steps waiting for the guy to pay, I could hear all this hootin' and hollerin' from inside. The guy keeps looking back into the living room and laughing. After punching in his info, he hands the machine back to me and says, "Duck man, you gotta see this." He steps back and I walk into the living room where there's probably 5 other dudes watching some guy duck this 700-pound woman's folded over stomach on a massive TV. There goes my pizza delivering dream job. I've been delivering food in general for 2 years. I've done just over 3,500 deliveries, and unfortunately I haven't seen a single strange thing. Not even something simple like a naked person. Maybe you just have high standards for what you consider strange. Back in college when I used to deliver pizzas, I delivered to the local county jail. An officer was taking someone to jail. The guy going to jail, still with his hands cuffed behind his back, got away from the officer and took off as I was walking in and ran into me. I'm pretty sure this guy was tripping on meth. The officer caught up to both of us on the ground and were able to subdue him. I was covered pizza sauce and the officers on shift took the pizza, paid, and each gave me $20. I told my manager and we remade the order for the officers and I re-delivered the order. The police were grateful and I was given another tip. One deliver and I made about $400. I should add, every time they ordered pizza from us again they always requested the guy who knew how to take a charge and would always tip me well. Good times. I thought this was going to turn into a Spider-Man type of situation where you let him get away and then he later murdered your uncle. Edit. Thanks for the silver. IDKY. Everyone decided to like this one specific comment of mine, but okay. I once delivered a pizza late at night. The person who took the call told me that the person who ordered, let's call him Mark, was an old man and may take a while to get to the door. I get to the house and all the lights are off. No car in the driveway. I ring the doorbell. No answer. I knock on the door. No answer. I call the person's phone. No answer. Call again. Still nothing. At this point I had waited for about 15 minutes for this person and was walking back to my car to leave when I hear the front door open. So I go back. Again. There aren't any lights and so I can only see the head of a young woman peek from behind the door. And she refuses to open it all the way. Even to take the pizza. I then hear another woman behind her saying, "Who cares if he sees? Open the door." So she opens it a little more to sign the receipt. She couldn't see, so I offer to shine my phone's flashlight so she can sign the receipt. I then realize that both of these women are naked. Me being the good employee, I was averted my eyes as she signed the receipt and I start walking back to my car. As I was walking away, one of the women yells to me, "Have a good night. You know Mark is." And I burst into laughter as I had totally forgot that this was the house of an elderly man. Mark can't come to the door. He's tied up. Was delivering to a hotel. Had a guy pass out on me 3 separate times in a 10-minute encounter. Apparently he was narcoleptic. But it still scared the crap out of me. Narcoleptic here. He was probably having a cataplexy attack. We don't actually pass out. We're still conscious but we lose control over our muscles so we look passed out. There's also the scenario where it's only partial. Then it looks like a seizure because we try to move only to cause spasms. It's triggered by emotion, so he probably got nervous or something. One of our neighbors killed a pizza guy. Pizza guy was working his way through college. Neighbor got life for very premeditated murder. Well, they explicitly said delivery in 30 minutes or less. Pug lady. We used to get these pain in the ears orders right before closing for 2 pieces of chocolate cake and 2 cans of whipped cream. Whipped cream was not on the menu, so the customer made prepayment arrangement with management. Because of this, she thought she was a VIP. She was grossly obese. Had 3 annoying pugs. Was always rude. And never tipped. It was stupid cold that night and I was having a bad shift. Sure enough, I get called back to the trailer park. I decided today was the day I would mess with her. I let out all the nitress in the whip cans and punched her cakes. I gave her order and told her to please stop ordering 5 minutes before closing. By the time I had gone back to the store, she had complained. My manager refused to cash me out until I returned full cans to her. This is where it gets weird. When I came back, she had her gown open. I couldn't help but notice wet, non-foaming whipped cream all over her crotch, staining her black leggings. Sure enough, I looked down and one of the pugs had wet cream all over his face, dripping from his jowls. When I explained to my manager she was most likely committing bestiality, he finally blacklisted her. Edit, thanks for all the feedback. I did not expect this to trigger so many people. I work EMS, so my tolerance is pretty high apparently. F keys for days. When I read Pug Lady, I was all like, yay, finally something else than weird 6 sheet. It ended up being weird 6 sheet. Not mine. My father's story from back when. Was delivering 4 Dominoes into a quite wealthy area. Knocks on the door. But of shuffling around inside. Guy opens it wearing a silk smoking jacket. Woman in the background on the couch full naked. Hands my dad $100 bill for the 1 pizza order and asks, if you can go grab me a gallon of milk and bring it back. Keep the change. They got their milk. Glad I'm not the only one who likes that combo. Customer paid with a card and he had instructions to leave the pizza on a bench in a public area. Drop it off and quickly leave the area. I left but pulled on a side street where I could see the bench. I wait probably close to 5 minutes and then I see a man bust out of a dilapidated building I thought was empty. He runs up and grabs the pizza. He spins a whole 360 degrees and he is glancing in every direction as if he was afraid he was being watched. Then he hurries back to the place and when he gets to the door he sees me and his eyes get huge and wide. Paranoid and fearful. He slammed the door shut. I just think he was tweaking or something wouldn't be out of the ordinary around here. That's me eating pizza while on a diet. Edit, thanks for the gold. I live by a massive government facility. I won't name it but it is in the DC area. This delivery was done at about 10:30 at night. I was told to ask for it when I arrived at the back gate of the facility. I stopped at the gate and 2 black subs approached me. A man exited the second car and came and asked me what name he told me to ask for. I said Tim and gave him his pizza and got back in my car. Tim got back in his car on the passenger side and I turned around at the gate and left. The second car proceeded to follow me back to the pizza shop and then sat across the street for 15 minutes and only left when I made a second delivery. That was my last delivery as a pizza guy. Edit, I am new to Reddit and don't know all the rules yet, but bear with me. I was not hired by said government facility. I got a job at a hospital like a week later and continue to work there to this day. I have had no other encounters with these men as far as I know. Why the duck would you have the pizza delivered if you're just going to follow the delivery guide back to the shop? I had 2 teenage girls open the door in their underwear. As a joke, I guess. They were probably 16 or something. They think it's funny, but I had to report it to my manager and hope nothing came of it. I was like 20 at the time. Something similar happened to me recently. Except with a younger girl. This les couple lives in my apartment complex with a 12-year-old. They'd often leave her home alone and she'd come knocking on my door asking to use my cell phone to call them. Apparently, they didn't trust her with a cell phone and they didn't trust her with access to the Wi-Fi when they weren't home. It was annoying, but I didn't think much of it until one night she showed up wearing a bathrobe. She wasn't locked out, so it didn't make sense for her to not put on clothes to come knock. She came back like 3 times that night. The last time her robe kind of came open. She wasn't wearing a bra. And she didn't really try to fix it. After that I didn't answer the door for her anymore. I asked a female friend to come over the next night to answer the door for me. She told her that we wouldn't be letting her use our phones anymore until her parents came and told us that's what they wanted. She offered to ask them for her. The girl never came back to my door again after that. I have no idea what the duck was going on or who she was calling on my phone, but I was paranoid Chris Hansen would be coming to visit me any day. Several years ago I was working in a sales job that attracted some of the more rough and tumble members of society. I was working on a sale to a guy who was a member of the Hells Angels. Nice guy. Very polite. But you know, I didn't want to get on his bad side. Because of the implication. At one point he was in the office and he had brought his wife and 2 kids. I greeted them all. Shook all their hands. And I noticed that his daughter was kind of giving me a look. Now I can be a little oblivious, but I'm not an idiot. I know the look. I decided to just move past it and continue on with our business. Things were taking a while. So the whole family was camped out in the waiting area and would occasionally get up and wander around. At one point, the daughter came into my personal office, fairly small, and sat down across from me and started making small talk. This girl is very attractive and is wearing a very short dress. She keeps crossing and uncrossing her legs and leaning over my desk towards me. So I tried to concentrate on my computer screen and just barely maintained a conversation with her in hopes that she would go away. She ended up mentioning that her dad was going to buy her a car soon because in a few months she would be taking her driver's ed course, which in my state is at age 14.5. At this point I decided to get up and do my work elsewhere. Several hours later we had concluded our business and the family was leaving. Daughter tried to hug me, but I shook her hand and moved on to someone else. My boss came in to see me and he said, "WHO was that girl?" I explained the whole family dynamic to him. And he said that apparently she had been groping herself and pressing her chest against the window to his office. She tried to add me on Snapchat later that day. Had a customer's outside cat bring him a dead squirrel with its heart visible from its chest cavity ripped open once as I was delivering the food. That was something. Also had a couple of old gay guys try to coerce me into entering their home, which was mostly hidden from view after their front door hallway. Noped out of that one real quick. Dude tried to say he'd tip me $10 more next time if I came inside. One of the most noteworthy customers though was this guy named David. Dude must have been over 50 and kept telling me way too much about his personal life. By the time I had finished working at that job, I knew all about his crackhead GF, now deceased. Her daughter, whom he described as smokin' hot. His intentions of trading sex with her for Drew Gus. His plan to open a sex dojo where he would be the guru and women would supposedly pay to come have sex with him. Dude always talked to me like I was his long lost friend. So it could have been worse. But he was quite the character. Thanks to you I've just imagined Yoda opening a sex dojo.